Hello and welcome to the Two Man Power Trip Wrestling. Your host, JP John Paz. With me today, a very special guest, a former Global Wrestling Federation lightweight and North American champion, former three-time NWA Texas World Heavyweight Champion, the Love Machine, the Chippendale, the son of Tugboat. He is Mr. Chaz Taylor. Chaz, welcome to the Two Man Power Trip. How you doing?
Thank you, brother. Happy to be here with you.
What's going on in your world? What are you up to?
Oh man, life is good. I'm living the dream. Actually, I got a couple movies that are getting ready to hit within the next 6 months. So, um, check out my IMDb if you have time, or whoever's listening. I've been pretty busy. I haven't been in the ring, but I've been active doing movies and commercials. People watch Adult Swim. A couple years ago, I did a TV show that was on Adult Swim. We won a couple awards for it. It was Suplex Duplex Complex. And a lot of people know Murder Hawk. He was in that with us from AEW. Jimmy Hart was in it, and a bunch of guys. The list goes on and on. So Lance and I were two of the four lead characters in it. So it was pretty cool. We did it was an 80s wrestling comedy. So I showed up with my mullet, 80s wrestling. And so they were like, okay, well, he's in. I was like the only guy with a mullet that showed up. So like, all right, well, we need to cast the other three guys. So they got Lance and Mike Dell and another actor. So we were able to bring a lot of our brothers on it. You know, they asked me, do you have any friends that, you know, could come in outfit and stuff for a few scenes? I'm like, done. So, you know, I played lead in a few different movies and one of a few different leads. So it's pretty cool. I got two movies on Amazon Prime right now for if anybody is bored and wants to watch movies. I have Eureka Road, which I play a pretty bad guy. So it kind of goes outside my realm of like, you know, you got to get outside your comfort zone, if you will, and just play a character, you know, to show that you have talent kind of deal, you know, and people say I've had talent. So I'm like, you know, okay, well, thank you. So I've been in Eureka Road, and Girls, Guns, and Blood is another movie on Amazon Prime. And I play the lead. I play a guy that is like the bodyguard in a brothel, if you will. And some of the names that people may know is Brittany Amber, Christine Wynn, Rebecca Love, Cody Renee Cameron. The list goes on with like, there's like 6 legit porn stars in the movie, but it's not porn.
Right.
I'm blessed. I just, one of the movies that we just finished was a Bollywood movie. It's American Bollywood movie. And I hear that they're translating it in like 13 languages, which is pretty cool. And I was able to get a lot of my brothers in that also. So, you know, it's kind of cool that, you know, I don't just do things about myself. So I try to spread the wealth, and wherever I go, I try to bring good people with me. I try to surround myself with good people. And I believe that, you know, that's the way we should all be raised, just to surround ourselves with good people. And so whenever I have the ability to bring somebody onto a project and further their career, or just make them feel good about themselves, it doesn't hurt anybody. All it does is good. So, you know, we need more people doing that. It's called The Great Escape. And the lead character is Babu Anthony. And he is like the Tom Cruise of India. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's supposedly one of his last films, and he got his son in the movie as one of his first films. So he's going to be promoting it all over. I'm promoting it all over, and thanks to you getting the word out there. So, I mean, we're really excited. So we're on the finishing stages of it right now. I have to go in the studio and do some ADR, what you call it, you know, the audio digital recording, and make our lips match up with what we said, because we didn't have a few mics on a few of the scenes, so we have to go into the studio and do that. So I actually had a little bit of wrestling and throwing people around. it's cool. And sometimes people ask me, what do you do? I throw people. Well, I get thrown, but, I throw people. So, I mean, I'm blessed. I mean, life is good.
How'd you get into acting? How did that just wrestling to acting? It's like a normal, easy transition, or how'd you get in?
Great question. Well, I actually did a movie. I'd say it was like 91. I played in a movie called The Handyman. And one of the guys that we were training down at my dad's gym was an actor. He was in Walker, Texas Ranger and a few other movies, TV shows, and great things. And he did what I was doing. What I'm doing is bringing friends and good people into the mix. He knew we could do stunts. It was an action movie. So he brought me and Dad in, and we actually died on screen, which was kind of like, man, that's weird. If you ever see yourself die on screen, it's like,
Right.
wow. So we actually did the fight scene, and then the movie turned out pretty good. And without all the Hollywood dollars and everything for a low budget film, it was pretty good. So we found out later on that the producer behind it was just in it for a tax write-off. So he had no intent to finish the film, never got finished. And, and I had some good scenes in it. I put a little bit up on my YouTube channel, The Chaz Taylor, and just, I had a couple good fight scenes. I dove out of a box car and actually had a fight scene with the lead character, and ended up doing a backflip and different stuff. And it was ended up breaking my neck. And he ended up doing the lead character had a fight scene with my dad. And for those that don't know, Tugboat Taylor is my dad, the original Tugboat. And Dad had a nice little fight scene, was doing a lot of wrestling moves and just ground and pound and beating the snot out of the guy. And and then finally Dad did something and they turned around and the guy super kicked Dad into a tree branch. And you see this branch come out of Dad's chest. And that was when I was like, I saw myself on screen when we were doing the dailies, and I saw the screen, and I was kind of like, wow. But then when I saw my dad die on screen, I was kind of like, ooh, wow, that hurt. And now that I'm telling you that, it kind of like puts a lump in my chest too. Now that my dad has passed on, it's kind of hard, but that's how we got into acting. And then I took some time off with wrestling and pursuing different things and helping Dad at his wrestling school, where people like Booker T, Stevie Ray, Ahmad Johnson, Hernandez, and a lot of guys came through Dad's school. They may have started at Dad's school or started somewhere, got screwed over. Dad says, you know what? We got a gym. Come on, your family. We'll polish you up, get you on TV and get you ready and stuff like that. So that's, I guess that's kind of where I get it is, from my mom and dad, is just like, it's not all about me. I mean, just like this world, it's not all about me. It's not all about you. It's all of us coming together and making things happen and making good changes and stuff. That's the way I look at it. Not everybody agrees, but so that's kind of where we got our start in the movies. But I did a tin cup. I played a caddy for one of the pro golfers.
Kevin Costner? Is that Kevin Costner?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And a funny thing is, my mom was a big fan of his, and I got to be a really good big fan of his on set, to see how nice of a person he was. In between scenes, he was talking to us and playing catch football with his kids, and everybody, we all have crap going on in our life. But, when you're out there in the public, you got to put all that crap beside you and just, realize, you're a human being, just like the person approaching you asking for an autograph. And, a lot of celebrities lose sight of that. And, I don't think he did at the time. I haven't seen him in years, but Kevin was pretty cool. So my mom, as I was saying, my mom was a big fan. So she had this baseball cap that says, "Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa."
Right. Yeah.
So I had that in my golf bag for when we went on the scene. And I asked him, say,
Field of Dreams.
can I, I'd like to ask you to autograph this for my mom for me. So I pulled it out. His eyes got all real big, and he was like, oh, that's like, what? And I said, yeah, my mom, big fan. I'm a fan, but my mom's a big fan. And she would love it if you could autograph. She doesn't even know I brought it on set, and that would just even mean even more. So he autographed it, and it was kind of cool because to me, it's like something, it really wasn't on the other set, but it was referring to the other movie. But I was in this movie with him, and he autographed it. So you could actually see on I played extras throughout it, and Dad did also. We were on the set for like 6 weeks in Houston at the country clubs. So I got to have like a 9 handicap at one time because we had Peter Jacobson, John Cook, Fred Couples, Gary McCord, all the top guys training us in between while we were shooting. So I got to be pretty good. So, it was just like, I'm kind of at a loss for words. I'm excited. I'm so excited, kind of like, because I've never really told anybody that. So
yeah, it's awesome.
I kind of lost my train of thought because where I was going with it, I was like, it was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen Yellowstone? He's great on Yellowstone.
I love it. Well, my agent actually up in Utah was talking to me about getting on that. So we got to have a little sip here.
Yeah, you could maybe play like an Indian almost, or like the Native Americans. They have a lot of Native Americans on the show.
Right. My agent up there was talking to them. And if you remember the scene with all the bikers on the side of the road where they ran over the motorcycles?
Yep.
They wanted me for that. But my director held out because he said, I'd like more than one episode. So he just didn't want to squander me and be on one episode and then move on. Yep. So, it got a lot of respect for me because there's a TV show on PureFlix. Have you heard of PureFlix?
Sounds familiar. Not as familiar though.
It's like a Christian Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So I got on that because of one of the guys that we trained in the 90s that came through our school was the lead character in a TV show called Sons of Thunder. And so that's on PureFlix. And I got in episode 6 and 7. So, more than I just thought I was going to be on one episode, which I was on there with some friends and it was all good and everything. But they ended up putting me in an extra episode. And then they ended up that was the end of the season. So they ended up coming back with the different characters, different storyline and everything else in season 2. So, that kind of sucked. But I played an MC for like a big fight club, an underground biker fight club type deal. And all the episodes, it was great. Great storyline and everything. Very Christian based, kind of good storyline and morals to everything. And so it was kind of slow coming up to my finishing episode scene. So I asked the director coming up to it, I said, when you read the script, I kind of make it my own. So I wanted to tailor it to me. So I asked the director if on this last scene, I said, can I wear a fur coat during this movie? I mean, because I'm not like I got a mullet. I got, so right. It's like I'm not a normal person. So, and and that's what a lot of directors and people like, that when, knowing what I bring to the table when I do a movie or do a TV show or something. So he's like, man, you're a biker. Well, you can't wear no fur coat. Come on, really? He looked at me like I was like I had 7 eyes or something. So in between one of the scenes, I did, like I said, I did episode 6, a couple scenes in episode 7, and then when we broke for lunch, I brought my fur coat to set that day. It's a nice fur coat, and I got pictures on my different media pages and stuff of it. And I walked around the corner, and he's like, "You are wearing that," and I'm like, so it's like, okay. I guess when you think fur coat, you probably don't think, ooh, big bad tough guy. But when I walked around the corner with this on, he's like, yeah, he's like, you're like Michael Buffer in Madison Square Garden and Flair and Hogan and, just like, so he's like, yeah. So when we started that scene, one of the guys that was in the fight scene was Booker T's brother. Remember Booker T's
Ray.
brother?
Stevie Ray. Oh, yeah.
Stevie Ray. So Stevie Ray's in this fight with another guy. And it was great. So, we kind of, I don't want to spoil anything, but they were saying it was kind of not really monotone, but like the first couple minutes leading up to that were kind of like so slow and kind of like everybody's like, wait, what's going on? What's going on? And then all of a sudden I let out with a woo and like, let's get ready to fight. And everybody's just like, a couple guys said, I was like freaked out because I was like, a couple guys said, man, I think I like peed myself. And, they were like, they didn't expect that because it wasn't in the script. But I got into character and they said that I brought that scene to life. They did some good choreography and fighting and stuff. But as you know, like when movies and stuff or like wrestling on TV and things, the commentators help bring what they're doing to life. And they're saying that I did that. So I'm like, I'm not going to toot my own horn. I thought it was really cool, but I appreciate when people watch the things that I've done and give me feedback because every day is a learning lesson and I want to learn. So, I mean, if you see anything that I do that can give me constructive criticism, I mean, that's what my family taught me early on is don't beat somebody down and say, oh, you suck. Kind of deal. I'm like, okay, well, I suck, but what can I get better at? Or, just.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely. With that, though, it's like, okay, your dad was even in acting too, but like with acting and wrestling, it does seem like a normal transition. But did your dad want you to get into wrestling to begin with? Did he always want you to be a wrestler? Because it seemed like, he's a legendary wrestler. Tugboat Taylor. It's just almost like you have to be a wrestler, no?
Yeah, no, he really didn't want to, but I was like, I wanted to spend time with my dad because I just like, a lot of kids grow up nowadays and they're like, they don't want to be around their parents and stuff, and they, like you see all these commercials say, don't be like your parents. I like my parents. My parents were good, cool parents. So, it's like, and I think I'm a cool parent, but he didn't really push me to do it, but he had his wrestling school and I would go down to the gym and I'd see these guys and girls and we had men, women, midgets, and all kinds of different people at the gym. And we had like the kind of heart that my dad had. He like we had this one guy, Johnny, it was a midget, lived with us for probably 3 years because he was homeless. So that's the kind of guy dad was, is, okay, well, he made a deal with dad where, you live with us. You'll travel with us. I'll take care of you. I'll teach you the ropes and everything, and don't screw me over. And he lived with us, and and so I would go down to the gym and wrestle with all these guys. Guys, Johnny was 4'4". We had guys up to 7 foot tall, 6'11" and stuff. And it's like, so there was a range of different people, but I would go down there and what started it was, I would listen and watch and see everything, but until you're engrossed in it, you really don't know what goes on behind the scenes at a wrestling school. Kind of like at any pro sport, you don't really know what it takes. And pro wrestling is not easy. It's not for everybody. You see a lot of people that shouldn't be in it because their parents have money, they buy a ring, and they hire people to come wrestling, and then they get in there and wrestle with them. but it's really, there's a lot of people, just like now you see a lot of people that go out there and they're either superheroes or they cosplay superheroes. And unfortunately, you see a lot of that in wrestling now.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
some of the guys are really talented and they make it to the big leagues. Kudos. Awesome. Fantastic. But it's not for everybody. And my dad had his school to where there were people that shouldn't have been in the ring, but they came to dad and were like, if this is what you want to do, I'll help you live your dream. Listen to me. But unfortunately, a lot of people, they're like, oh, oh, okay, he's going to teach me, but I'm not going to listen to him outside of what the wrestling is. And, but as long as those people listened to dad, he took care of them. Gave them the shirt off their back sometimes. But so I would go down to the gym and just watch and absorb. And I was just a sponge because my parents always told me, just contrary to what I'm doing now to you and talking.
Yep.
They always said, just shut up and listen.
Huh.
And there's not enough of that. So like when I was down at the gym and when I was in backstage in locker rooms and stuff, I barely talked because I was around some icons and I just wanted to be a sponge and learn from them. So with saying that, when I was down at the gym, I would get frustrated sometimes because you'd see these grown ass adults. I'm sorry. Can I say ass? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. So I see these grown ass adults not do simple things as taking a bump. And don't get me wrong, taking a bump is not simple. But back in the 80s and 90s, we had tumbling in school. So people could do a somersault. They don't teach that in school anymore, I'm told. So these people grown adults that could do tumbling didn't know how to do a forward roll, didn't know how to take a back bump, but yet wanted to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
So, we didn't want to discourage them. So we're like, you know what? I got to put my thinking cap on and I got to teach you how to do this. So sometimes when they couldn't do it, if dad couldn't explain to them how to do it, then I'd have to get in the ring and be like, okay, try it like this. And then I'd show them. And they're like, well, damn, if this 13-year-old, 12-year-old kid could do it,
they should be able
to do
it.
it. So that kind of, and I was a throwing dummy. I mean, they beat the hell out of me, but it helped me learn. I mean, I was a crash test dummy. They're like, anytime somebody wanted to learn, I had so many injuries, but yet you don't really as you get older, you're like, oh man, I hurt all over. But at that time, you're like, you just chalk it up because you don't hurt like you do when you get older. And it's like when you're in the heat of the moment wrestling. Yeah, that shit hurts, but your adrenaline's going so much that you don't really feel it until after you take a shower, you're sitting there, and you're trying to put your shoes on and you're like, ooh, damn, that hurt. But I guess that's kind of where, that's where I started was once I started being a test dummy, all these guys and women that were throwing me around, I learned how to do it. And then I just would keep going down there and never really had any intent to be a wrestler, but I would go to different places and dad always taught us. I luckily was fortunate enough to learn from guys like Sputnik Monroe and Johnny Valentine and some great guys that were just, open-minded and helped because I was in the family, I guess. But back then it was so closed off that people didn't want to learn the secrets. They didn't want to give off anything. So
right.
What they taught us was to always take your gear. And I mean, I was 14, 15. I think, was it 89 or 90? I went up to Louisiana with dad and a few of the guys and wrestled in, at the Belmont Hotel. I got video. People actually sent me video, so I put that up on my YouTube channel of me and Brian Lee. I had picked a video of me and Jack Victory and different people. It was just, good times. But I was in a plain black singlet. I had boots, I had knee pads, but I didn't have all the fancy gear and all the cool tailor-made stuff like I did in the 90s that I actually made. Because I actually started making my own wrestling gear. I was in home ec in 8th grade, so I learned how to make my own wrestling gear, saved a lot of money, and I could make other guys' stuff, make a little bit of money. And so, I would go to different shows, and if somebody didn't show up, well, there's your opportunity. So, I went to like 5-star championship wrestling and places all over and I just nobody knew who I was. So, and
Right.
a lot of places we went, my dad was a bad guy, but I really didn't have that bad guy look. So, I mean, I used to be young and pretty, so they wanted me to be a good guy. So I didn't go as Chaz Taylor. I just went as Chaz. And, because I didn't want to, the fans weren't as smart as they are now to where, they didn't see you drive up together, so they wouldn't even believe that you're family or carpooling or whatever you will. So, I just wrestled as Chaz, I just was like, I want to make a name for myself, like Sting, Madonna, Cher. So that's kind of a little backstory there. And it kind of grew into itself. And then finally we did a thing in Global at Sportatorium, where X-Pac and the Davis brothers were down there beating me, putting chairs to my knee and stuff. And Dad had a feud with the Davis brothers, but I think that was after that. But Dad came down to the ring, and it's on my YouTube channel also. And he came down there, and everybody's like, the hell, what's going on here? So he's like, hey, give me some money. I'll take this little punk kid out for you. And they're like, yeah, sure. Here's some money. Take him out.
Right.
And so Dad goes up to he turns around and smacks X-Pac, shit cans him out of the ring, gets up on the top turnbuckle and clotheslines both Davis brothers, rolls out of the ring, carries me back up. Man, it was like 50 yards at like a 45-degree angle. If you ever went to the Sportatorium, anybody that was ever there will tell you it was like a 45-degree angle soup bowl. The ring sat in the middle, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was like
legendary. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, holy ground. And so I'm like 190, and he carries me up like a baby all the way up the ramp because it's TV. So he couldn't stop. So we get up to the top, get around the corner where the cameras weren't, gets me in the locker room, sets me down. He's like, damn, boy, you need to go on a diet.
Huh.
And I'm like, damn. All the times I wrestled for WWF, they always told me to gain weight. Now Dad's telling me to lose weight.
Right.
But, yeah.
So when you are wrestling, obviously, I feel like Global, like your shirt, obviously, was that the biggest, like the biggest time for your run? Obviously, like I mentioned, like lightweight champion, North American champion, but was that your biggest run, you think, in wrestling was for Global?
Well, I had a nice little run in Mexico. I had a contract with AAA down there, but I didn't agree with some of the politics and stuff down there. So, and behind the scenes stuff, and there were a lot of great people down there, but I just the language barrier and nobody really in the office claiming to speak English. It was kind of like, maybe my mindset wasn't right for it. So I was like, I'm going to come back to America, and, Global took off. And then I did a little bit with ECW off and on. I did a couple times with TNA. I did NWA for years. And I was the NWA Texas heavyweight champion 3 times. NWA Texas tag team champion 3 times. NWA Oklahoma heavyweight champion, and the world's first and only bungee match winner. And the guy that actually won the match from. Actually, we went on to be the World Tag Team Champions. God rest his soul. He died about a year ago. So Stephen Dane, he was a great guy. He was one of those ones where Steve had probably 10 years on me, but he saw potential in me, and I learned like a sponge from him. And I had a great time under his tutelage. And I wish he was still with us. But I saw him a few years ago, probably 5 years ago. I was at the casino in Durant, and I'm sitting down playing a game, and I look over, and I'm like, I see this guy staring at me. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this fucking guy's creepy, man. What the fuck he keeps staring at me for?
Right, right.
And we made eye contact, and I looked at him. He goes, Chaz? And I'm like, oh, shit! It's Steve! I was like, because he lost a little weight. He wasn't working out as hard as he was, but I knew his face once he said Chaz. And I'm like, boom, Steve! So we got up, got a big hug, and, you know, we were best friends again until the day he died. And it was, that was rough. But I was happy to reconnect with him again before he died. So, and we've lost some great guys lately. I mean, just a day or two ago, we lost Bill Ash. He was one of the best bootmakers in the country for everywhere.
I saw that, yeah.
Him and Clifford out of Houston. Clifford died like 3 years ago. So, I mean, really, there's a couple bootmakers in Mexico right now. Botos Bobby Lee Jr. And, I mean, you get your boots at High Spots pretty much now. Bobby down in Mexico or High Spots, you know, and I preach boots because I'm old school pro wrestler. And I mean, to us, it's like you wouldn't see Superman in his full gear in tennis shoes. And if you get it, you get it. Like if you see a guy in like an Armani suit and in tennis shoes, kick pads. Oh, he's got kick pads. So it looks like boots. No, it doesn't. But that's a lot of kids now. They convince themselves that kick pads are acceptable. But I mean, that's a soft subject with me. So sorry to rant on like that. But some people are like, well, this guy in WWE, he wears that. Well, if you watch this guy before he was in WWE, he took himself seriously as a professional, and he wore boots. This guy wore gear. But then, you know, when you get to the elite companies, you can wear what you want. You can wear what they want you to wear. And sometimes you're forced to wear what they want you to wear. You're under contract. But, you know, like this John Cena, he was the protege. Great guy. He wore boots and gear before he started his John Cena with tennis shoes and denim shorts, you know. But a lot of people don't realize that because they just see what they see on WWE. So a lot of these backyard guys, and I love backyard guys, I just try to promote to them, get some trained professional behind you.
Right.
Whether you want to go to a school or not, I'm not gonna say spend your hard-earned money to go to a school, but get under that learning tree of a professional, because otherwise you're just being a cosplay wrestler. Does that make sense to you?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, heard that before too. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Do you think though, as far as like your time in wrestling and today, it's just completely two different things, or you think they can kind of get back to basics a little bit here?
It's rough, but when you see a lot of people bantering back and forth in Twitter and stuff, like, you know, everybody now is going off on Will Ospreay.
Yeah, and Kevin Nash.
Saying, you know, like the guy can work. He's talented.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But yet he does. It's kind of like if you take Ric Flair, WWE, Will Ospreay, Cirque du Soleil. It's not the same thing. So Ric Flair will go out there which I do. And that's why a lot of promoters still will book me, because I'm old school. And a good promoter doesn't have just all Cirque du Soleil on a show. They don't
Right.
have just all old school on a show. The good promoters that know what they're doing have a mixture of things on their show for everybody. So a lot of promoters will still book me because I go out there and I tell a story and I get the fans interested in what I'm doing. I mean, I'll still do a few high risk maneuvers. I'll come off the top rope and do different things, but I'm telling a story first. I don't do Cirque du Soleil flippity flip, flip, flip. Okay, pin me, or I pin you. The fans don't get invested in that, and they don't remember. They're like, they don't want to go and be like, I really love this guy, or ooh, I that's my favorite, or that's the one I really hate. They don't do that if you're Cirque du Soleil. They want to be able to be emotionally invested in you, and old school really is where it's at. And the better wrestlers in WWE, AEW, New Japan, all the top guys all over, the ones that are on top, they tell a story. Otherwise, they're you know, there's all political reasons that some people don't get that push, because they either didn't sleep with one of the office guys, or they pissed off somebody, or maybe they just don't have the look, or they don't have that charisma. Shawn Michaels told me a long time ago, because we did a lot of stuff for a couple years in San Antonio. I mean, I can tell you stories, but he told me, he's like, I want you to give me all you got. I would rather be able to rein it in than just, you know, it's like, you know, and he did, because I would do different things. And he's like, okay, maybe dial it down a little bit here, dial it down a little bit here, but I like that, and do this. And that thing that you did with that, do it, keep doing it every match, blah, blah, blah. But promoters, they don't want to tell you, I like this, but you're a little flat. You just, you know, you need to up your tempo. It's hard to get more and more and more out of people. It's just like, you can't teach charisma.
Right.
So the ones with charisma and the ones that know how to work a crowd, or know how to look at a camera and just piss people off by looking at them, rather than saying your mama's fat or whatever, you know, shut up. Shut up. Really, that's original. Shut up, or I'll come down there and beat your head in. That's not original. But you could say that without saying it. And those are the guys that usually get the push.
So you said with Ospreay, you don't mind that style, just as long as that's not the whole show is just, you know, guys of that
I mean, the
style.
guy's
Yeah.
talented. One of my favorite guys to watch does a lot of the same stuff, but yet he tells the story with different things. TJ Perkins.
Yep.
He's a great guy. Hell of a wrestler. I met him like 15, 20 years ago, and I'm a fan. But he does a good mixture of everything, and Will does too. But, you know, it's kind of funny when you see a lot of the guys like Will and different people, they're like, you know, oh, they did this, and, you know, like, I created this. I'm like, you want to kind of like, I've refrained from saying stuff on Twitter sometimes. I'm like, bitch, I was doing that in the 80s. But it's kind of funny because they stake claim to a lot of different high-risk maneuvers and things. But when we were doing things, me, Jerry Lynn, X-Pac, and a lot of guys, Eddie Guerrero, Art Barr, we were doing a lot of high-risk maneuvers, and the camera crews weren't ready for it. So a lot of the stuff we did don't have footage unless it's a big wide shot, because, like, I was the first one at the Sportatorium to jump up on the top rope and dive out to the stage. Stage was probably 8 to 10 feet away, but I was elevated, so, you know, I knew I could make it. So there's a video of me, of like Mike Davis standing on the stage, and out of nowhere you see me come into frame, clotheslining him, and then get back in the ring, because the camera crews weren't ready for that high flying. I was one of the originals. And I'm not saying that to be cocky. I'm just pointing out the fact that I was. And the camera crews weren't ready for it. So a lot of these guys that are doing all this stuff now have guys like Jerry Lynn, X-Pac, me, and Art Barr, Eddie Guerrero, and
Yeah.
Dean Malenko, and all these guys that Jushin Thunder Liger to thank. And a lot of the guys that didn't do the sexual favors to get their high spot up in WWE or in the different cliques or whatever, a lot of these people don't remember us because, you know, I traveled all over the world and I went to the same places a lot of these other guys did, but I traveled with my dad a lot and he kept me clean. Or other father figures, if dad wasn't there, Black Bart or some of these other guys would be like, you know, no, Chaz coming with us, you know, and they kept me out of trouble. That's probably why I was never in rehab or anything, because I never did drugs. You know, I like women. I liked going out and partying and having fun, but I could party and have fun without all the narcotics and everything. And, you know, and it's not a diss on any of my other brothers out there. It's just stating the facts that a lot of people now coming up, they only refer to the people that they saw on TV rather than a lot of the other people that they traveled the road with that some of the fans may not know because they just started watching wrestling 4 or 5 years ago. That makes sense to you?
Yep.
And I don't want to ramble on. I mean, sorry if I'm rambling on. I'm passionate. I'm passionate about it. I always have been. So I get to, when I have a platform to speak, I'm like, I love it because I want to reach out. I want to go, like I've done seminars. I've taught students how to do things because Dad and I had a wrestling school for 30 years. So we've produced a lot of quality talent. And some people that wanted to go all the way up, some people just wanted to do it to live a dream. And they did it a few dozen times or a few years. And, you know, then they went on about their own regular 9-to-5 job. But now I'm trying to aim my little what muscles and bones and stuff I have left into acting and doing stunts. And I'm telling you, that's even brutal. But it's you know, I got paid good times wrestling, but I get paid pretty well in movies and different things too. So, you know, but the movies and stuff are going to live on. And when I'm doing those flips and flying out of box cars and different things, the cameras are ready for me now. Back in the 80s and 90s, they weren't. So a lot of the stuff that we have, I mean, I ask fans all the time, if you have anything of us, me and Dad, or any of the people we trained or anything from back then, send it to me, please. Let me share it on my YouTube channel. Let people watch it because people need to see. They always refer to it as the golden era.
Right.
I mean, for a reason, I guess. But there are a lot of quality, talented people out there right now. And I don't want to diss anybody because it's just a different era. It's
For sure.
I really don't know how to describe it any other than that. But there's a lot of people that really love the sport, love the game, and give back. I mean, like some of the best minds in the business, William Regal, some of the best guys, you know, it's crazy. Eric Embry is helping with the company in Texas now. I mean, there's a lot of like James Beard is going around all the states and different countries helping people, like the best referee ever. It's just, I mean, there's a lot of guys like me that give back. And a lot of times we do it out of the love for it. I mean, we don't charge. I don't charge to go help people. You know, if I go and do seminars or something, whoever's bringing me in will give me a little something, but it's kind of like I do it for the love, you know. Sure, I got to pay the bills, but I mean, I just wish everybody was independently wealthy so we could just do without having to worry about paying the bills and where the next meal's coming from and stuff, you know. But it is what it is. So, you know, I gotta find a new agent out there to kind of find some good movie roles for me. And because I think that if I can get into some good movies like what I have coming out pretty soon, I can use that platform to give back and educate some of the younger people coming up, because like they always say, the youth is our future and we need some good role models out there. So, I mean, we've had enough bad role models out there. So we need more good role models. And if you see the circles that I surround myself with, like Gordy Gronk, and just the list kind of goes on, man. I've been, people see videos with me and Gordy Gronk, Isaiah Standback. Just, I'm kind of at a loss for words because, like I say, I get so passionate about it sometimes. But I did a celebrity softball game with all these guys, and you get to sit there and talk and hang out with them for a weekend, and I mean, you get a brotherhood. And I mean, these are the kind of guys that are role models, and it's like, I have another guy that I talk to every day. T-Bad Ron. Too bad Ron, he's got a few books out there. Former wrestler, which he's kind of pissed off because I get him back in it now. So, because actually at the last celebrity softball game at Arlington Globe Life Field, I body slammed him on home plate. So I don't know if you saw the video on that, but
no, that's great.
And it was on TMZ Sports, thanks to Mojo. Mojo, our brother, got it on there for us. And so too bad I slammed him on the bat, and he's like, you son of a bitch, now you just making me want to get back into wrestling. So like I said, former wrestler, maybe again wrestler coming out of retirement, but motivational speaker. He goes around and talks about bullying and stuff and things like that. That it's just, I mean, I try to surround myself with good people like that. TK is bring a lot of people together. I mean, people that go onto my social media pages and see the like you. I mean, some of the great people that I hang around introduce me to other great people. And all you can do is thank God. I mean, I don't preach the Bible. I was raised to respect people and respect the Bible and stuff like that. But, I'm not going to beat it down your throat. But I believe in God, and I think he brings everybody together for a purpose, and he surrounds me with a lot of good people. So your thoughts?
So, yeah, I'm just curious though, like with your wrestling career, right? And you go back, did you ever have a chance to sign a contract? Because I know you work for WWF. I know you work for ECW a bunch. Like, did you ever have a chance to sign a contract with a major company? I know obviously Global was a major company and on TV, but I mean outside of Global.
Yeah, I had a contract down in Mexico with the largest company, and
AAA.
with AAA, and it was
But
a different.
nowhere in the States though.
Well, no, I did. I wrestled for a lot of different companies, but every time that I would do tours with WWE, WWF, like some of the office guys would just kind of like. I remember one time vividly, I was back there with Earl Hebner, and he asked Terry Taylor, "Are we going to sign him to the contract today?" And Terry's like, "Well, we're just going to hold off." And Earl and I are kind of like, "What the fuck are we waiting for?"
Right.
But whatever. So there's politics, and you hear rumors about different things that like people in power, they want to play God, and there's nothing really you can do about that. So, and then different things like my dad didn't play politics. He said it how it was, and he ruffled a lot of feathers, pissed a lot of people off. And like when I was going and wrestling for TNA, one of the booker at the time liked me. And then I was talking to him and I was like, yeah, my dad says good things about you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh yeah, who's your dad? And he had heat with my dad. My dad never knew it, but it's like, so fucker cock blocked me for a while. And it's like, so I didn't work for the company again. It's just because there was like a misunderstanding for different things. So it's like, it sucks when you're second generation and they hold things out on you because of something somebody else did.
Right.
But I mean, there's no way around that. So you just got to be positive and keep doing what you're doing and love life and, figure, okay, well, that guy's going to be out of office one time or another, or whatever. And I'm just going to keep doing my thing and aim it in a different direction. And so like every time, like I would go to the different companies, like I started doing a lot of stuff with ECW strong at the end, and
Yep.
then they ended. So it's like, well, shit. So, and then when I was working with Shawn Michaels, I was in good there. And I ended up taking off to get married. Shawn was like, yeah, no, go do your thing. I respect that. I appreciate you. And then after my honeymoon and all that, he had a big breakup with Paul Diamond and accusations and all this other stuff of Paul screwing him over. And well, there wasn't a company to go back to anymore. But Shawn was healed and ready to go back in the ring. So, wasn't much I could do then. But what I did, I wrestled Kurt Angle not too long after that. And there was another guy in the office there that he was wrestling as Chaz that wrestled in Global with us. And we had conversations. Great guy. I'm not gonna badmouth him. I love his partner. Glenn's a great guy. But conversation I had with him was, about my name and why I wanted to wrestle as Chaz, blah, blah, blah. And he ended up using that same almost verbatim discussion as an interview, saying why he was changing his name to Chaz. And I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So when I wrestled there, the boots that I had, because I was wrestling Shawn Michaels and all that, I had Chaz on my boots. Big red letters on white boots said Chaz. I'm like, Shawn, can I borrow a pair of your boots or something? He's like, why? I said, the only pair I got are these. He's like, well, fuck, you're Chaz. Where are your boots? I'm like, yeah, but they got a guy under contract here that's going by my name. So what
Right.
do I do?
Headbanger Mosh. Yeah.
Out of
Yep.
respect for the company and everybody. And maybe that's where I messed up, because I was too respectful. But that's the way I was raised. And I've seen a lot of people that do things with good intentions out of respect for a company or whatever get screwed over. And I mean, in hindsight, 10, 15 years later, you can't do anything about it. So he's like, no, you're Chaz. You're wearing those boots. So I'm like, all right. So I went out there and they played the music. I did my thing. Had a awesome match with Kurt Angle. Even to this day, I talked to Kurt and he still don't remember it. But because I pretty much beat the shit out of him, but I gave him a few moves in there and his finish. And I did same with Owen and different other people that when I wrestled with the office, I started the match off doing my hip toss to my feet, the back flip to my feet, drop kick, high flying stuff that popped the crowd. And then he went outside the ring. So then I did from when Mexico, this was shoot, I don't even know. It was was it 2001? When did Kurt start? 2002, 2001? So 2000.
Maybe a little earlier, 99, I think.
99? Okay.
On TV, yeah.
So
I think maybe 98 start, 99 on TV.
Okay. So this was one of his last matches before TV.
And this is down in Memphis?
Trunks on with lace up the front.
Was it Memphis?
What's that?
Was it down in Memphis?
No, it was in Houston.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Well, I did Houston, Austin, Corpus, San Antonio, a big run. But we did I did my flying clothesline out of the ring and then threw him back in. He was in the middle of the ring. I jump up on the top rope, springboard clothesline in. And from then on, he kicked out and he did a few different slams to me and stuff. But then we worked the match back and forth and did some high spots and then his Olympic slam put it over. And he was he gave me this big old hug. I thought he was going to kiss me. He gave me this big old hug afterwards. And he was like, brother, thank you. That is the first match that I've had that I've not been dropped on my head.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, thank you. It's I wish he would have told some of the office guys that would have given me a nice little rub, but whatever. Sometimes they watch, they're all back there on the monitors watching. Sometimes they don't. So, But like I said, if a family member or a friend that you hang with has heat with somebody in the office, there's nothing you can do really to overshadow that unless the big boss likes you. So, and then I did hear a story too, because back in the day, you didn't need to prove yourself with a handshake. I don't know if you knew about the different handshakes.
No, different
Okay.
handshake.
Yeah. So old school wrestlers, because I kind of just, some things you forget about. So old school wrestlers, that's one of the ways that you would know if you're one of the boys or not, is the handshake. When you walk in the locker room, you shake their
Right.
hand. If you just
Okay.
touch hands, go meet some of these old school guys, Lawler and Bill Dundee. Some of these old school guys, you'll touch hands and shake. You're not a businessman firm handshake. So go shake hands with Jeff Jarrett. He's one of the greatest ever. I mean, great mind for the business. I just like being around him because I like learning from people. But he always seems to have a positive vibe about himself. And
Right.
I mean, but the handshake is a handshake. So if you had somebody back in the day coming up and giving you a firm handshake, you're like, okay, he's not one of the boys. So that's how the inner circle knew. So
Interesting.
that's how I was trained. So the first time I met Vince, I gave him a working handshake. And I heard later on that he don't like that. So you're thinking, fuck, Vince is like the man.
Yeah.
He's all business. He's a business genius. If it can make money, he'll make money on it. And so later on, I found out that he don't like he likes firm business handshakes. And I'm like,
Right.
well, fuck, I wish somebody would have told me before. I mean, and once you kind of set the stage there, how do you make another first impression on someone? If that's what their firm beliefs are on, that he doesn't like a limp handshake. And I'm like, well, fuck, I kind of blew that, didn't I?
Yep.
But whatever. It is what it is.
So as we head towards the finish here, we head towards the wind down. I know you've worked in Japan, Mexico, like we mentioned, all over the United States, WWF, ECW. What are some like your favorite opponents or favorite matches? Just some favorite guys that people can go out there and go, oh, Chaz Taylor. I know you mentioned Kurt Angle, but like, wow, he wrestled this guy. Wow, he wrestled that guy. He wrestled everywhere. Like, who would be on the list there? Art Barr, maybe?
Art Barr, I tagged with him and Conan. And Conan is actually getting honored this year at CAC. Are you familiar with CAC?
Yes, Cauliflower Alley Club. Yeah.
Yep, in Vegas, Conan is getting recognized as a lucha star. It was me, Art Barr, and Conan was the 3 tag team guys down there. They called us the Sexy Boys, Los Sexy Boys, which it was pretty cool. So, I've traveled all over. I would say great time in there. I mean, I had some good ring time with Eddie Guerrero, Art Barr, Owen Hart, Kurt Angle. I mean, I don't want to name drop on. I mean, a lot of people, X-Pac, everybody knows that legendary matches with him, but I don't, I've never been big on putting myself over and saying, oh, I've been in the ring with this guy, or I've been in the ring with this guy. But, a lot of people ask, oh, you wrestled The Undertaker? I'm like, no, my dad has, but I know him. I've been in locker rooms with him, but, that kind of thing. And I've been in the ring with Shawn Michaels. I've been in, the list goes on. I helped train a lot of the guys. So, a lot of people don't know, but when Daniel Bryan was going through Shawn Michaels Academy, he had me and Dad there helping him train. So, I mean, you have your training, but then when you get in the ring and start having matches, that's when your training starts really. And, background in the locker room and everything of telling the guys why you're going to do this and this kind of deal. So, I can say I had a hand in teaching Daniel Bryan, Booker T, Stevie Ray, Ahmad Johnson, Hernandez, Spanky. It's kind of funny in Global. Ahmed Johnson and I tagged a few times, and people were snickering in the back, calling us Black Man and Robin. It was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I vividly remember a lot of times with Booker T and Stevie Ray, they're brothers to me. I talk to Stevie every once in a while on the phone. There's good people. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, I have a book coming out. I'm still writing it with a guy. Michael McCurdy is helping me write it. So
nice.
It comes out, and I'm going to be talking about it and stuff like I talked with you about. And then one time when I'm in the ring with JBL, and he was just a dick. And I mean, he had his good moments, but he was kind of a dick, and for no reason. A lot of times he just wanted to, he was kind of like a bully and wanted to like act tough with everybody. And there was no reason for him. I respected the hell out of him, because if you're in the ring doing what we do, you gotta respect that. So there's no reason to be a dick to the guy that you're in there with, that you're making look good, or he's making you look good. You look good together. But one time we wrestled in Tyler, Texas, and we had a great match. And at the end of the match, I'm outside the ring, and he's got his bull rope around my neck, and he's pulling. And Black Bart's down on the apron, and I'm pulling on Bart. I'm like, I couldn't breathe. And Bart's even telling him, lighten up, Johnny, lighten up. And then, so he lets go, and he does it a couple more times. And I'm like, Bart, I'm going to beat the fuck out of this guy. Because a lot of people don't know. Like I said, I don't brag about my background and stuff, but my dad was an alternate in the 72 Olympics, and I'm from Iowa. I grew up wrestling, so I can defend myself. And, at our wrestling school, we taught professional and amateur. So, I never bragged about being tough, because there's a lot of tough guys out there. But after the match, I think this is probably the first podcast or first time I'm telling somebody about this, other than just like we talk about it in a conversation, but I'm going to put it in my book too, that after the match was over, I went to the locker room. I got an extension ladder. I took him off his feet. And I said, you need to learn how to fucking work. I said, I'll beat your bitch ass. And it went on for a little bit back and forth. And some of the guys were like, no, don't fight. I'm like, no, I'm fucking fed up with this bullshit. I was fucking livid. Sorry. So I was livid. And I'm like, I'm going to beat his ass. There's no reason for him to be a dickhead like that. Maybe he hasn't had his ass beat, but I'm going to fucking beat his ass. And so Bart separated us. My dad separated us. And there were a few guys that, like Rod Price and some of the guys, Akbar in the locker room, that were like, no, Chaz, you don't want it. I'm like, and Dad was like, no, Johnny really does not want any of Chaz. Because Dad knew what I could do, but I didn't want to fight people. I mean, I'd rather talk my way out of it, but fuck, I was lit. And Dad looked at Bart and he's like, Chaz will fuck him up. But no matter that perception of how tough JBL was, there's always somebody tougher. That's why I was always to just shut up and listen. Don't, if somebody needs you to defend them, then you can, but your training, your background. Don't go out there and look for fights. But man, I was livid. And, after that we became friends and stuff again. And, I don't know what was in his head, but, and like I told him, I said, there's no reason you need to go out there with somebody that respects you and be a dick. But, that happens in wrestling. Sometimes you're out there, and one thing my dad told me early on is you may have to wrestle somebody you don't like, but it's your job to go out there and do your job and make you look good, make him look good, make the crowd happy, and go home. Get your money and go home. You're out there to do a job. You need to leave your personal feelings at home. So, but that night I was hot.
Crazy, JBL. That's always people what they say. Bully, not a bully. But that's funny. You had a run into with him too. But
and there was no reason, because he was like a foot and a half taller than me. So I'm like, he towered over me. I was always respectful to him. you go in any locker room, you talk to anybody, they're like they'll tell you I'm always respectful. But I just sometimes if the silent ones, if you push them
Right.
too much,
Yep. Yep.
and oh man, I don't. It got into my skin. I took him off his feet. Fuck, I was ready to pounce. But my dad grabbed me. Bart grabbed him. And a bunch of exchange of words and shit. But no matter what happened, I was the one standing. He was on the ground.
So what's next for you? Like, I know you got a lot of acting stuff, but what's next?
That's a great question. I want to pursue acting. I want to do more movies, but I'd like to. I mean, I don't know. I'm getting back in shape. I had a little health scare last year. I actually died, and they brought me back to life, and that's why I even appreciate life even more. So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of think it's not like I'm letting a cat out of the bag or anything, but like I've talked to a lot of different people and stuff, and I want to pursue wrestling, but yet once my movies get out there in like the theaters and stuff, who's to say I might show up on AEW or something? You never know. So, I mean, they have a wealth of talent there, great people behind it. So, and I've talked a couple times to Tony, and Khan seems to be pretty bright, and he's a fan of wrestling. So, I mean, and that's kind of what it boils down to is, bringing in people that, are wrestlers, and giving the crowd something that they don't expect. So, I don't know if I want to go under contract with any foreign countries anymore, because I don't want to travel 100 to 300 days a year anymore. But I'd like to be able to, do some pay-per-views or something maybe, and keep doing movies. I mean, that's kind of my passion. That's really fun. It really is. I mean, when you're there with some good actors and actresses, stunt people, and directors and writers, that's awesome. I mean, I really can't explain how. That's just awesome. So I'm really.
And the money's probably not bad either.
What's that?
The money's probably not bad either.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I've done some things for little change just because I love doing it. But when you get a good paying job for something that's really going to be out there, it's even better. I mean, it opens up other doors to where you have the luxury of doing things, not because you're like, damn, I got to do something because I got to pay the bills. I mean, you're able to do things, and so if there's any agents out there that want, the next big bad guy for movies that does his own stunts, I'm right here. So, I mean, and please, anybody that's listening, go to my IMDb page. And if you yourself will, please go to my IMDb page, look at some of the movies and stuff. And if you see them on Amazon Prime or on YouTube or on PureFlix or wherever they may be, watch them, get on social media, give me some feedback. What can I do better? Because I know I'm not all that. A lot of my friends, they'll watch movies like up until, well, okay, my character dies, and then they don't watch much of the movie. But I would at least like feedback of how you think I did, not as me, because I'm playing a character. So if you can give me feedback on how you think I did, because like I did this one, it was called A Promising Game. It's on YouTube. And that was one of my first favorites. I researched so many different, it was called A Promising Game. I played an intelligent hillbilly in charge of a sex trafficking ring. I know. It's kind of like oxymoron on top of all that stuff, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's when I started growing my mullet back again, was like 2013, 14 for a movie. And it was like a short film, but the director and the cinematography people behind it were, wow. I mean, the lighting and everything, I would recommend you do that, to watch A Promising Game, by Colin Demange, my African friend of mine. I've done a couple of Nollywood movies with Colin Demange, and so I've done Bollywood, Nollywood. I really want feedback, but in this Promising Game, I watched movies like Deliverance and stuff, so I had a little bit of creep factor to the character. So you can tell it's not me because I'm a happy-go-lucky, lovable guy. But I smiled a few times, but I got into this character of like, you'll see. And I had the liberty sometimes to do some one-liners. And I really don't want to give it away, but there's some good one-liners in there that just make it. I mean, sometimes I don't want to be the guy that like, okay, I'd like to be in a lot of movies, and I may not have a lot of lead roles and stuff, but I want to be that guy to where when you watch a movie and you leave, you remember that guy that did this, or I'm that guy that did that, or I want to be that memorable character. So luckily, a lot of the directors that I've been working with have given me that liberty to say different things, come up with different things. And in these couple movies, I have a movie called Outrage coming out, and The Great Escape. So those are two movies right now that are they're American Bollywood movies, but Sandeep JL is the director of both of those. So we're finishing. Like I say, I have to do the ADR for The Great Escape, and then they're going to package them and have them both hit the world. They're going to have like 13 different languages dubbed in, 13 different posters, and it's just going to be, I'm excited. But great things to come. And I just wish everybody would like watch it and give me feedback, like Sons of Thunder on PureFlix. Or like I said earlier, Suplex Duplex Complex. It had Lance Archer in it, so Lance Hoyt, Jimmy Hart, and a lot of wrestlers. So, you know, I appreciate. I like it when people say, "Chaz, you're great." You know, I love you, blah blah blah. But I like feedback as far as constructive criticism. Also, like, I think everybody knows what that is. But if you really think that I couldn't have done any better, cool, tell me that. But if you think I could have done this or in a different way, hey, I'm open for the next role that comes along. You know, I don't want to do every role the same, you know, but yet, like I played the lead bad guy in The Great Escape with Babu Anthony. So, I mean, there's some one-liners in there that I just like, man, I really want to tell you what some of those lines are because, oh, shit.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in there. So we did a sneak premiere one time of Outrage. And we had some of the families and stuff at this theater we were watching. And I'm sitting in the back row just watching. And so we're watching this. And some of the family members, they're kind of like, they're commenting on different things that I did. And one of the moms turned around and talked to me, and she said something, and she's like, oh my God, that's him! You know, and I was like, that was pretty damn cool. But she's like, and she's telling all the other family members, because I was like the lead bad guy. And
right.
And it was like, you know, mullet in full effect. So she was kind of like, you're not blending in. That's you. You know, I had the flames in the beard and everything because, you know, I reinvented the sideburns with like a flame, sideburns. That's kind of a dad joke, but, you know, hey,
right.
It is what it is. So, but some of the one-liners in there were just like priceless. And like we had a little party after the premiere, and like every 5 or 10 minutes, you would hear somebody say one of those one-liners that I said because that was the memorable part of the movie. And I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you. So, I mean, like everybody has movies that you remember your one-liners.
Oh yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough to be able to, okay, I'm going to give you one of them.
Okay.
So to put it into context, my character there was this Asian female that they had tied up against a tree that my character was selling to another guy. So my character comes up there and says, she's getting a little feisty. So we had this little stuff, and I'm like, I hate this shit that if it was in real life, and it kind of like creeped me out to play that part, but I was kind of like, I researched how to do this character. And one of the lines that I was talking to the director about is, whatever ethnicity she is, I need to find something because prior to turning her over to the people that we were buying her, my character was gonna have a little fun. So at one time she spit in one of the guys' face, kicked another guy in the nads, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to bend you over like a fortune cookie or break you open like a fortune cookie." So, yeah, that's kind of tacky and racist, but
yeah.
But that was my character.
Right. It's the character. Yeah. Of course. Yep.
Well, I'm going to break you open like a fortune cookie. So no matter what ethnicity she would have been, if she'd have been Spanish, I would have break her open like a tamale or a burrito or something, So it was kind of like, there's one-liners like that. God, I want to save it for when the movie comes out, because there's some good ones in Outrage that when we did that premiere afterwards, everybody kept saying it's in reference to a grandma. Things that you would not expect to hear. I was like, afterwards, after the director yelled cut, the set busted out laughing. So,
right, of course.
And we had all age ranges of people on set in the scene, and it was just kind of like everybody just fell out, and we were like, "You got that on film, right?" Some good stuff, man. Oh, I wish I had a clip of to show you right now. But when the movie comes out, when any of them other one comes out, or if you watch some of them and you want to question me on a certain clip and just do like a 20-minute interview or whatever, I'd be happy to give comments on it. Anything that's out there already right now.
All right, cool. Awesome. Where can everybody find you? Your social media and everything else.
Chaz Taylor is pretty much all of my social media. I tried to make it simple. I think one of them, like I don't know if my YouTube is The Chaz Taylor or Chaz Taylor 713, but it's like Chaz Taylor, The Chaz Taylor 713 is like the go-to. And you can't mistake the hair,
The mullet mania.
Yeah. American mullet, baby.
Oh yeah.
So that's how to find me. I mean, I'm on all the social media pages. I even did an actor's page, but I get so busy that I haven't updated it in I don't know how long. I mean, it's tough doing all these different, trying to live your life. And I don't want to hire somebody to do my social media pages for me, because you lose the connectivity. You lose that connection, I guess.
With the fans. Yep.
Yeah, and I want to be able to. You talk to any of my fans, I talk to a lot of them all the time. I mean, and that's. I have friends that they're not really my fans. They've been friends for so long that, a lot of people consider them fans, but they're in my inner circle. So, there's guys like that from Mexico that send me magazines that I'm in, and friends talk to me all the time. Like, okay, so if you're a big wrestling fan, everybody knows my friend that says, "It's real to me, damn it," or "It's still
David
real
Wills.
to me."
Yep.
Those guys are my friends, and because I'm a real person. I mean, you ask me a question, I'm gonna shoot you straight. There's no reason to sugarcoat things or lie. Nobody benefits from that. So, and I think that's why I have a lot of friends and fans, because I'm approachable. I'm
Definitely,
real.
absolutely.
America. I drive a Harley, and a cool thing too is in a couple of movies I'm riding my Harley. It's a red, white, and blue 2002 Softail. It's got red, white, and blue paint all over it, and white seat, white walls, tires. I mean, it's pretty. So I mean, people can go to my media pages and see it. So
Awesome.
Be good to everybody. And JP, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. You got it. And of course, Mullet Mania running wild. But Chaz, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it. Great stuff.
Thank you, brother. Anytime. I'm just a phone call away.